Hey guys, welcome back. Next thing we're going to do is take off the cylinder and cylinder head. First thing you have to do is take off your head stay. These two nuts are 12 millimeters. This one is a 14 millimeter. So go ahead and take those off. And once you do that, it should look something like this. And once you pull off your head stay, you can go ahead and take off your cylinder head, which is 7 12 millimeter bolts, or nuts rather. Just here, 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 right there. That one right there, this guy, and this guy. Again, they are all 12 millimeter nuts. Alright, now once you get those nuts off, you can go ahead and just brush off the cylinder head, get all the crap off, and make sure there's not going to be anything falling down into the cylinder. Go ahead, just wipe it off with the brush. Obviously you want something inside the hole, plug hole. I just use my spark plug. You can use a piece of tape, that works just fine also. And once that's nice and cleaned, you can just go ahead and pull it straight up, then off. It should just come right off just like that. Now you might need to condense it a little bit with a rubber mallet. If that's the case, be sure to do it carefully. Now you can see here, inside of my cylinder head, the dome, seems to be nice and clean for the most part. I just see there's a little bit of carbon buildup, but that's normal. Down the cylinder, you can see that's nice and clean. You can see the piston wash, kind of, on the top of the cylinder head. That's where the two intake ports kind of mix together. It creates that wash effect. I went ahead and brought the piston up to top dead center. I can get a good look at the top of it. I do see some oxidation right there at the back of the piston. Also at this transfer port right here. Right there. That kind of concerns me, but we'll see if that's really any arch impact on the cylinder itself. Here's another angle on it. You can see that the deck height is fairly minimal, so the space between the top of the cylinder and the top of the piston, the edge right there. So you want to check out my awesome makeshift light so you guys can see. Alright, now in order to take off the cylinder, you have to take off your exhaust manifold right here. So 3 bolts. They should all be 8 millimeter bolts. So one at the 11 o'clock position, 2 o'clock, and the 6 o'clock right there. Hopefully you guys can see it. So just take those 3 right off. Should be 8 millimeters again. And that manifold should just pop right off. Alright, so I went ahead and took off the exhaust manifold, as you can see right there. Next thing you want to do is take off your 4 bolts to hold on the cylinder. There's one right there, one right there, one right there, and one right there. They should all be 14 millimeter nuts. Now the front 2, we're probably going to have to use a wrench to get to, seeing as you have that overhang right there. Whereas the back 2, you can use just a normal ratchet. Now you could take off your reed cage, but you don't really have to. I'm not going to. But if you do decide that you have to, it's just 6 10 millimeter bolts, 3 along the top there, 3 along the bottom. Now it's boot, gasket, reed valve, gasket, your plastic stuffer, and then the cylinder. Now I have a spacer right here. It's a 10 millimeter spacer. That's because this is actually a late model cylinder that's been modified by Honda to be run on this bike. As you can see, it has the late model water outlet, but in this case, for the 85 to 88 models, it's on the back and not in the front like so. So if you do plan on running a late model cylinder on a early model bike, you have to have that 10 millimeter spacer in order to not make up for the increased reed area of the late model, or I should say early model head reed valves. But you also have to account for the shorter air boot, because the late model, or early model cylinders also have a longer intake right there. It's about roughly 10 millimeters longer. So that's where that spacer also comes into play. Okay, so I went ahead and removed the nuts to hold on the cylinder, as you can see. I'm sure somebody has noticed this spacer by now. It's a 5 millimeter spacer to account for the 87 at up rod that I'm currently running inside the crank. In 87 they went to a 5 millimeter longer rod. And they also added 5 millimeters to the deck height on the cases to account for that. So if you plan on running a longer rod, or if you just need a new rod in your 84 to 86, you can go ahead and buy a 5 millimeter spacer or have one made up, and you should be good to go with that new rod. Now to pull off the cylinder, you can just go ahead and tap out on with a rubber mallet. It should just come right off. There you go. Alright, now with that cylinder off, you can go ahead and inspect your piston if you want to. So far, from what I can tell, this one looks pretty good. I don't see any scraping on it at all, anywhere. This piston has about 20-25 hours of runtime at the track, and it's in pretty dang good condition. So I could definitely use this for next season. See my lubrication holes drilled right there, and right there. That's only needed on the forged aluminum pistons. If you're running a cast, it should be fine. Shouldn't have to drill it out. Or if you don't have a exhaust bridge too, you don't have to drill out those holes for the lubrication. Alright, now if you guys want, you can go ahead and take out your wrist pin so you can pull off your piston. What you need to use is just some form of like a hole puncher or something like that along those lines to pull out the circlip, and then your wrist pin should just slide right on out to one side. Once you pull out that wrist pin, your piston will just come right off. Alright, I'm going to show you guys some close-ups of the cylinder here. Hopefully you guys can see inside it. So you can see that the exhaust bridge is relieved. Hopefully you'll be able to see it. You also see just the normal wear on the cylinder as well, especially above the boost port right there. Try and rotate it so you guys can see it. Also see up inside the exhaust port as well. can see that the left port has less buildup than or the left side of the port, I should say, has less buildup than the right side. And if you can tell, the right side is actually lower than the port, when in the perfect world they should be equal heights. So. See that my spacer is still on there as well. Now I talked to my engine guy about that pitting that you guys saw. Turns out that's just carbon buildup from running way too rich, which I knew about initially. So if you see something like that on your piston, when your plug's just completely black like mine is, you can pretty much guess that's just running extremely rich.